Hey, we're here with another episode of Before You Buy. You know, that show where we give you some straight-up gameplay and how we're feeling on the latest games releasing. As usual, it's me, your tour guide, Jake Baldino, and today we're talking about South Park, The Fractured Butthole. If for some reason you didn't know, it's the sequel to the surprise hit South Park, The Stick of Truth that swaps the Dungeons & Dragons and Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings from the first game for basically Marvel and DC superhero franchises. The kids ditched the wizard hats and the Stick of Truth for capes and superpowers to essentially get rich and build sequels and superhero franchises. It's exactly as current and up-to-date and cynical as you probably expect. In the story, Cartman is the Coon from the show, and he's the leader of Coon and Friends. This is like your superhero group that you join as the new kid in town, and you essentially set out on a quest to find a missing cat. That's about it, but of course, it gets way ridiculous really quickly. Right off the bat, it's pretty good stuff. Even more than the previous game, this one leads hard into the charm of kids playing outside and kind of using their imagination. Like red Lego bricks on the ground or lava, and you can't touch it, or you'll catch on fire. They use supercomputers that are just kind of made out of cardboard, and all of the dialogue, especially the random incidental stuff, works around acknowledging this stuff pretty well. The schoolyard charm stuff is juxtaposed with the signature raunchy, edgy South Park humor, and it's all pretty good, man. But the bigger question is, I guess, is it funny? That's something I can't answer for you, because South Park is divisive. Some people love how far South Park has gone, and other people think it's trying too hard and it's not funny anymore. Some people have stuck around with the show since day one, and others have dropped off. Now, for me, as someone that did kind of drop off the show in recent years, I did notice that the game, more than the last one, relies on inside jokes and references with the more recent stuff in the show that I know less about. But it didn't hurt my experience at all. I still found the game fairly consistently funny, only with like a few misses here and there, but I did find Stick of Truth to be overall stronger in the writing and wit department. But I think if you turn your brain off, you will find a lot to laugh at here. But again, humor is subjective. Everyone feels differently about it.
Psst, new kid. Hey there, are you one of Craig's friends? You looking for Craig? Me? Let's just say I'm an art collector specializing in a delightfully modern and extremely confusing Asian art form known as yaoi. Crazy, right? But this stuff is worth a fortune to the right buyer. If in your adventures you find any of these, bring them to me. I will reward you handsomely.
The gameplay is similar to the turn-based battles last time around, although now there's like these added grids of motion that don't really rework the battles as much as I thought they would. But it's still like, positioning is somewhat important, as you can kind of get behind enemies, you can line up attacks and knock multiple enemies back at once, and even knock them into other teammates or walls for bonus hits. There are also these superhero-themed ults that are never not funny and are really fun to watch, like the swappable teammates pull off. They're not very long, but they are kind of like a cutscene, but you never get tired of them. And exploring the environment of the town of South Park is pretty fun. You know, you rummage around for crafting components for healing items, find new cool stuff for your costume, and just taking selfies and talking to people and farting on them is good. There's lots of little surprises and stuff to do, like side quests, but you don't really get much out of them besides what I listed. Most of it is just to experience the South Park stuff, and there's so much funny stuff tucked away that I think it's still worth it. It makes the game feel bigger than its honestly pretty simple premise. One of the bigger changes to gameplay is farting is way more important this time around, as you can use like these items like special Mexican food to fart and change the course of time in battles. Using a bit of strategy to hold down the triggers and interrupt an enemy's moves, pause the turn, or freezing and essentially removing a turn, stuff like that, adds a level of strategy that I think the game sorely needed anyway, because the battle system is really simple. It's fine and it gets the job done, but there's not enough options to really keep things interesting for the long term. Almost every battle has a cutscene moment, a gag, or just a funny line, so that does absolutely help keep things fresh, but just don't expect the most compelling RPG gameplay, you know? I do appreciate that the pretty much turn-based combat, it can still be kind of fast and reactive and keep you paying attention thanks to some button prompts. That does go a long way to help it, but it's also the biggest thing with the simplicity is that it's far too easy, even on the higher difficulty levels. That's not usually like an issue I take with games, but here it's apparent because, like I said, for some, the combat might feel a little boring at times. You're never really in big trouble, everything is pretty easy to avoid, and again, like I said, options are limited. But the easiness kind of goes for the majority of the design. There's always stuff popping up on the screen, and sometimes it feels like the game holds your hand way too much, always telling you where to go and exactly what to click on and what to do, down to like very, very micromanaged levels. Thankfully though, some of the prompts that pop up are actually pretty funny, because they're like these comment pop-ups from the in-game social media Instagram knockoff, and most of the stuff you do, like collecting usable items and using the loot to customize your guy, and the crafting, are all managed through these little apps on a smartphone interface. It's pretty interesting to see almost every character in the South Park universe have a phone in their hand at one point. It's like a commentary on how much people are on their phones without being really so on the nose or preachy about it. It's just everyone in the game is always looking at their phone, and it's not really always acknowledged. It's also worth pointing out that this game is a damn miracle with how it looks just like an episode of the show. I know that was the same case last time around, but it's still so impressive. The music, the voice, the presentation, the look of the town, everything down to little details with the characters and how they get different status afflictions during battle, it's all really detailed and really well thought out and creative, most importantly. I only had like 1 or 2 weird visual glitches and a few lip syncing issues, but otherwise the presentation for the whole game is top notch and entertaining. The Fractured Butthole goes back and forth with smart commentary and like really dumb fart jokes, and it all works pretty well. While it doesn't commit to like quote unquote one side or the other very often, it still manages to feel pretty relevant. But it also doesn't have as many memorable or weird or even game-changing moments that the first game had, like the Canada sequence, and in that regard, I was a little let down. I do feel like Stick of Truth was a much stronger game, but there's still a lot to love here, especially if you're a fan. I definitely recommend you check it out. But that's it before you buy. You know how it goes. I list some pros, some comments, and some personal opinion, but now I definitely want to hear yours. First of all, what kind of South Park fan are you, if you are one? Did you drop off like me and some other people, or have you been watching consistently from the beginning? And also, how does that affect your opinion on the game? Do you think there's too many fart jokes and not enough edgy stuff? I've seen some people say that. I kind of go back and forth. And did the gameplay keep you interested enough to see what happens throughout the story and just get the laughs? Because it did for me. Let's talk about anything South Park down in the comments. I'll be down there talking to you guys, but if you want to hit me up on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, you can find me at Jake Baldino. But you probably know that already. And you probably also know clicking the like button does help us out a ton, and we do appreciate it. It helps us put out more before you buy videos during this busy season. And if you haven't subscribed, you should, because we put out this stuff every single day. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
Welcome to Freeman's Tacos. If there's anything I can interest you in, well, you just let me know. Star of stage and screen, Morgan Freeman is not prepared to take a selfie with you at this time. I wouldn't do your digging your... You think your farts are pretty bad, huh, kid? Well, I'll be the judge of that. Whatever happens next, just remember who picked this fight. Good fight, kid. It got my blood pumping. Come back when you're stronger and we can do this again.
You're dead.